watching Numbskull News, and today I want to talk about the death of the Big 12. That's the crap that keeps, that's the gift that keeps on giving. Everyone likes to talk, oh, well, you just wait. The Big 12's in big trouble. Oh, look out, look out. So I'm going to go ahead and use some of the examples that I've been hearing, and I'm going to crap all over them. And making this video, because I've heard some of this crap, and I just kind of let it roll off my back. Whatever, that's kind of been my take. Whatever. People got to say something, right? People got to make some content about something. People got to bitch or whatever. But it was when Coos from Coos' Corner made a video discussing when angle is the Big 12 in trouble. Is it going to die? Whatever. That's when it disturbed me. Now, he didn't do anything wrong. All right. He took one or two things that's been put out there, and then he addressed them. I thought he made a good video. But I'm like, hold on. Why is Coos feeling the need to do this? Because there's too much shit out there. Too much BS being thrown out there. The whole Utah can, go the ACC, that kind of crap. So let's go ahead and address it. Okay, the first thing, and it's something that Coos talked about, was that Double Fries No Slaw guy, which that's a cool channel name. I like it. The college football addiction name needs work. I don't know. It's kind of icky. I'm looking for track marks. It's just whatever. But apparently he brought up that if the ACC loses Florida State and Clemson, they can still get a decent TV deal. Then they can use unequal revenue sharing to keep UNC, keep Miami, keep your next level, most important schools in-house. And then from there, maybe you can steal some Big 12 teams. Utah, West Virginia, whatever. Here's the problem. I don't know if y'all remember, but when the Pac-12 was going through their crap, that too was also brought up. I want to say it was John Wilner that really put that out there a ton. Maybe it was Canzano as well. But if you remember, it was Oregon and Washington were going to make the highest percentage of whatever new media contract they were going to get. And then below them was Stanford and Cal. And yada, yada, yada. Right? That's how it was supposed to work. Keep in mind, why didn't it work in the Pac ultimately? Why didn't the unequal revenue sharing save the Pac? Well, because Utah wants to get paid. Colorado wants to get paid. Arizona wants to get paid. Arizona State, everyone thought, hey, we should get a decent percentage too, or at least, make something close to what the Big 12 is making. And there just wasn't enough money because Oregon State and Washington State can only pay for so much. All right. So now you have a bigger conference. That's just 10 teams. All right. So, okay, let's just work backwards. Okay. We want to get UNC and Miami paid. Okay. Let's get them paid, right? What about NC State? Because I have a feeling the Board of Governors, who were, got a lot of NC State people on the North Carolina Board of Governors there. I have a feeling they would try to do some kind of like calimony kind of thing. Like, UCLA's got to pay Cal a ton of money. They would do something that way the money is not too unequal, right? So that kind of kills it for UNC. I guarantee you that would happen. But wait, you think Virginia or Virginia Tech wants to make less money so that UNC can be happy and Miami can be happy? No. What about Louisville? Think they want to make less? How about Pitt? See, that's 6 teams. And let's say it's not about making more money, but just making what they make right now. You're like, oh, that's not a big deal, right? Just make what you make right now. That's not exactly a higher percentage, is it? Well, without Florida State and Clemson, that's a problem. Because that triggers the look-in to the CFP, and you lose money that way. Losing Florida State and Clemson, now you're going to be making less out of the ACC network. That's a shit ton of subscribers you're going to lose. All right, and you're not going to replace them with South Florida or Tulane. No. You're not replacing Florida State, that huge fan base, with them. Because it's not as huge, is it? It's not. And then ESPN, you think they're going to pay you the same amount for media rights without Florida State and Clemson? No. So there's 3 different revenue streams there that you're going to take a hit. And there's other revenue streams too that I'm not getting into. I haven't really researched, but I imagine, you may have some corporate sponsor problems, without Florida State, without Clemson. Maybe a little difficult to sell advertising, a little more difficult to sell advertising. You're going to lose a ton of money without them too. All right, we're not talking about losing anyone else, just them two. So, these people talking about, just a little bit of depletion out of the ACC is no problem. Folks, that's a massive freaking problem. Ask the Pac-12. Hell, you can ask the Big 12. Massive problem losing Texas and Oklahoma. It took us using 8 different schools to even approach replacing the loss there. It was tough. All right, we've treaded the water. We're okay. But ACC does not have those kind of options. Because here's the problem. You're losing all this money because you lose Florida State and you lose Clemson. As I said, you're losing CFP money. You're losing money off the ACC network. You're losing money on your media rights. You're losing money on advertising for the ACC. You're losing shit millions and millions of dollars. All these schools. So the ones at the bottom, now you want them, they're already making way less than they were. Now you want them to make even less than that? I mean, you can only lose so much to where it's like you might as well be in a group of 5 conference because you're not making dick. It doesn't make sense. This whole story, it didn't make sense when I heard it in regards to the Pac-12. And now you got Double Fries, No Slaw. Hey, I'm subscribed to his channel. I like some of his stuff. But every once in a while, I'm not saying I'm above it. I'm sure I've given plenty of dumbass takes. That's a dumbass take. And I'm sure he thought, hey, I'm really smart for thinking of this. And maybe he had some, maybe he has a couple of donors, rich donors from Florida State or whatever, or from wherever, that came up with this crap. And that's one of his sources he has or whatever. But it's bullshit. It doesn't make logical sense. It didn't work in the Pac-12. It's not going to work in the ACC. I mean, this thing is such a mirror image. Once Florida State and Clemson leave, you watch. Everything that happens with the ACC will be a mirror image of the Pac. Because so far, all the stories, I've heard them all before. So when you still have half or more of your conference that thinks they should be making the same money, if not more money, out of whatever unequal revenue, you got a problem. You got a major freaking problem. Okay. The next death nail people are talking about, which is hilarious to me, the Big Ten and the SEC both will go to 24 teams. And when they go to 24, to get to 24, they're going to have to add teams like Kansas or TCU or Utah, Colorado, Arizona State, whatever, right? West Virginia. Number one, the Big Ten and the SEC, where's everyone getting this 24 teams? Each school in those conferences are bringing in roughly $100 million a year. And their money's about to go up exponentially. I mean, it's gone up so far, but every year it's clicking up and up and up. Okay? You add a bunch of dilutive schools, what happens? It's the very definition of dilutive. That money you were making has to come down so that the other teams can get paid. Oh, but they'll be on a half share. A half share in the SEC or the Big Ten, that's still a shit ton of money. Still a shit ton of money. Folks, it's not going to happen. ESPN and Fox, financially, they're not in the best of places. They're not looking to expand a ton more. Not with those two conferences. It's too costly. The time to add schools was before your media rights blow up. Now that it has, only certain schools can fit the criteria for Fox and ESPN to pay them to be brought in. And right now you have a 16-team SEC. All right. There's not 8 schools out there for them to get. All right. Even if they got all the big hitters. Let's say they got Notre Dame, Florida State, Clemson, Miami. You still need 4 more. Of course, you're going to say, oh, well, they'll take UNC. Dilutive. But okay. Well, they taking Virginia? That's out there. That's dilutive as shit. Virginia Tech, worse. NC State. Folks, there's not that much realignment. There's not that much expansion left for the Big Ten and the SEC. You can't convince me of it. I've looked at the numbers. I know the losses that ESPN has sustained over the last 10 years. I don't buy any of it. Don't buy any of it. All right, so no, they're not going to add Big 12 schools. The Big Two are not adding Big 12 schools. They simply can't afford it, and they're not the schools, the blue bloods that are already in the SEC and the Big Ten, and that are coming in this year. They are not going to be willing to lose money to bring in a Kansas State, an Oklahoma State, a TCU, or even a Utah or Colorado. They would all be dilutive to those two conferences. You know, I'm not taking a dump. I'm a TCU fan. I'm not taking a dump on TCU. That's just the reality of the situation. It's pissed off ACC people, pissed off former Pac-12 people that are jealous as shit of where the Big 12 is. Because them, holy shit, hold on. We were in like one of the 2 exclusive, drink your coffee with your pinky in the air type of conferences. Why is this redneck white trash piece of shit conference kicking our ass? So they got to come up with some bullshit. That's essentially what all that is. Because none of it's based off of hard factual evidence. And number 3. Well, this is one of my favorites. There's a growing money gap between the Big Ten and the SEC. The Big 12's doomed. Well, what's going to happen to the Big 12? Well, they won't be able to compete. Folks, how many national titles has Oklahoma State won in the last 20, 30 years? TCU. West Virginia. I'm talking in football. Kansas State. Arizona State. I mean, I'm waiting. Baylor, Cincinnati, UCF, BYU. I think BYU got one, in the 80s? Colorado could lay claim to one in the early 90s. You're talking 30, 40 years ago. I'm talking the modern time here. The last 20, 25 years. 0. Why? Because you can't out-recruit Alabama. You can't out-recruit Texas. You can't out-recruit Oklahoma or LSU or Georgia or Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, USC. You can't out-recruit Oregon or Washington. You can't out-recruit Miami. Oh, you can't out-recruit Texas A&M. and they all got more money than you. I mean, even at the same media rights level that it's been for the majority of that 20-25 years, this is a new current thing that those schools in those two conferences are making huge, elevated over everybody money. Even when the money is still relatively close, those schools still had shit tons more money than you. They had bigger donors than you. They have way bigger advertising that they can sell, corporate sponsors, all of that. They've made shit tons more money than you. So, what's changed? What's changed? When have we competed on in a major way for titles and titles and titles? Texas has won titles. Oklahoma's won titles in the Big 12. You know, once upon a time, Nebraska won titles in the Big 12 till they left. Colorado won a title, then they left. Now they're back, but this isn't the 90s Colorado Buffaloes. Now, they're exciting with Dion, his son Shador. We'll see what happens, but this is not the conference that's going to reel off an SEC type run. You know, I mean, how many champions does the SEC have over the last 20 years? Alabama, Georgia, LSU, Florida, Auburn. Is that all of them? Am I missing somebody? Sure feels like it. I keep wanting to say South Carolina, but I think that was like a long time ago with the old ball coach. So maybe not in the last 20. But we all know the dominance that they've had. The Big 12 isn't going to pull that off. The Big 12 isn't going to do that. You'll be lucky the next 20 years if you get one champion. And I'd be thrilled with that. I just hope it's TCU. But let's be honest. It's not really going to happen that often for the Big 12 to win a title. You know, even if you get UNC, you think UNC is a real threat to win a title? You think Virginia's a threat to win a title? Louisville's a little more of a threat. But I mean, are you like, okay, we got Louisville, we're going to win a title? No. I mean, if we got Florida State or Clemson, yeah, we could win a title. But we're not getting them. There's a tiny little chance that you get Miami. Theoretically, you know, they still recruit at a very high level. They could put something together if their coach can pull his head out of his ass and know when to call timeouts, know when to go for it, when not to, things like that. Little game management. Then maybe you would have a legit shot of having a champ, maybe. I'm not saying Oklahoma State can't do it. I'm not saying Kansas or Kansas State can't do it. I'm not saying Utah can't do it. But realistically, year over year, you know, are they really contenders? Once in a while. We'll have a team that goes on a bit of a run in the playoffs. As long as we can do that every couple of years, that's great. But this talk of, you got to win championships and then you can get on their level. We're not getting on their level in football. The money's already been an issue, and it's even a bigger issue now. And like I said, with the recruiting, NIL, everything else, no. And there's no catching them monetarily. It's not happening. Not in my lifetime. I'm 46. Not in my lifetime. So we're talking, hopefully, at least 30 years I got left. We'll see. But the next 30 years, is the Big 12 going to catch the Big 10 and the SEC and hurt team revenue? Probably not. No. I mean, we can close the gap a little. We can close it a little bit. We can get a little closer. Be respectable. We could be the third conference in revenue and success and everything else. But no, you know, we're not really going to catch them. And that's okay. like I said, what's going to happen to the Big 12, the growing money gap? Because at some point, it doesn't matter. All right, if they're making 50 million a team more than you, I mean, at that point, does it matter if they're making 60 million more or 65 million more? Not really. The hole is the hole. It's it's already an abyss. Oh, we're gonna add a few more feet to the abyss. Okay, it doesn't freaking matter. I mean, people are acting like what we gonna implode because we're making less money. Well, that would imply that we have a group of teams that have invites to those two conferences, which, as I've said before, that shit ain't happening. So implosion is out. I mean, what else? We're gonna lose our autonomy status? Why would we lose our autonomy status? I mean, we're at a high enough money level that yeah, we're a power conference. We may not be a superpower conference, but we're a power conference. And when all the dust settles, we'll be the third power conference, the third left existing power conference. So yeah, that's bullshit. The autonomy status will stay intact. Sorry, people. Sorry. No group of 5, no group of 6 for the Big 12. That's what any future Pac 10, 12, 16 is going to be. And that's what the future ACC is going to be. Group of 6, group of 7. There you go. Group of 7. G7, the G7 summit. G7 sounds awesome. Sounds like an expensive plane, doesn't it? So there's nothing wrong with being part of the G7. Be grateful for what you have. Sorry, you suck. Folks, the Big 12's fine. The Big 12's fine. Oh, but the revenue sharing. Okay. A lot of these kids do deserve to get paid. They've been getting screwed for a long time. You know, let's don't act like these college educations these kids are getting are worth the paper they're written on a lot of times. They're not. Now, that kind of education does help a lot of kids. I'm not saying it doesn't. But I've seen so many stories about football players, and they invent classes for them to take so they can get a passing grade. They basically rig it so these guys have an easy time. That way they could be academically eligible to play football or to play basketball. And then when they get out, and whether it's due to injury or, maybe they're good at college, but they're not really, NFL talent or NBA talent, and they can't make it on that level, and they're sitting there, maybe they have a bachelor's degree in what, basket weaving and bullshit, that whatever, some made up degree that's utterly useless. I've seen story after story after story over the last 20 years about that. So many of these athletes have just useless degrees in nothing, in bullshit. They can't do anything with it. So if nothing else, let them make some money while they're playing for their alma mater. So maybe they might have a small chance of investing that, maybe being smart with some of that money. Although that a lot of that ain't going to happen because they're young and you get money and then you get stupid and you buy a car that lasts 3 years because it's a piece of shit. But it's $150,000, $200,000 car. See what I'm saying? But no, the Big 12 can afford revenue share. Look, all the details ain't even, nothing's in stone yet on how all this stuff's going to work. And people are already, well, this is going to destroy the Big 12. Shut up. No, it won't. All right, this whole thing, well, you got to pay $22 million. No, you don't have to pay $22 million. That's the supposed salary cap. We'll see what that ultimately is. And if it's a standard salary cap for everybody, which I don't know that it is or not. Is that just for the SEC and the Big Ten? Or is that for everybody? I mean, what's the salary minimum? Haven't heard that number. Because right now everyone's acting like, oh, they're the 22 million. You have to, that's a salary minimum. Like, you have to spend 22. No, you don't. They said max cap. So what's the minimum? Is it $5? Is it 5 million? Is it 10 million? Is there a minimum? Do you have to spend anything? Do you have to pay any player? I don't know. See, that's the crap that's annoying the shit out of me. Because to me, revenue sharing, I'm like, okay, here's the media rights money. What percentage is the players going to get? Because I'm pretty sure that's how it works in the NBA. That's how it works in the NFL. And I'm also pretty sure that these players, it looks like they're going to unionize. Unions have already been established to do just that. There will be collective bargaining. And if you have collective bargaining, what do you think these unions are going to want? A percentage of that payout that each school gets every year. The whole league has this group of money, this pie, if you will. We want this percentage. So instead of having a $22 million salary cap, it may be 22% of your entire revenue for a conference has to go to players. That's what the union will want. That's what they do in the NBA. That's what they do in the NFL. That's what they do in Major League Baseball. That's what they do everywhere you have professional sports. You can't establish a cap without knowing what percentage of the total revenue of the conference is going to be paid out to players. And it's just logical shit when you stop and think about it. Then you realize how much people are talking out of their ass about everything. It's kind of ridiculous. And I'm not out here acting like I get everything right. Obviously not. All right, if I got everything right and I was some kind of guru out here, if I was the oracle of college sports, then I'd have like 1 million subscribers right now. But I don't. I'm pretty far from that. I'm not even like middle class. I'm still like a micro channel, okay? But you can use some logical sense when thinking of it. Just keep asking questions. Never stop asking questions. Don't just accept the bullshit people make a video about or do a live stream about. Ask questions like, okay, well, why is that happening? Why is that happening? Why is that happening? You know what I found? No one has an answer for it. Not a good one. Oh, it's because, Ross Dillinger said so. Last time I checked, Ross Dillinger isn't a athletic director. He's not a president of any school. He's not a conference commissioner. He's not a trustee on a board somewhere or a governor on another board. He's none of that shit. He's the guy that goes and he asks some questions to some people he knows on the inside, and he can write well, and then he throws it out there. I'm not saying he has a bunch of piss poor information, but you don't need a shit ton of professional journalists for you yourself to just ask questions of this shit. Does any of this make any sense? And there's nothing wrong with the Dennis Dodds of the world and all those types of guys. Maybe Canzano you can stay away from, but mostly there's nothing wrong with the plethora of professional journalists out there, and that's what they do for a living. Read what they have to say, but always ask questions. Really? Why is that? Why is this? Why is that? And if the answer isn't in the article, well, it wasn't too thorough, was it? Shit, that's it. That's all I'm trying to say. Okay? The Big 12's fine. A lot of this is rumor, innuendo, thrown out there by a lot of jealous assholes. How dare the Big 12 have the audacity to survive when they're not? How did the Packs die and the Big 12 survive? What a twist of fate that is. What a twist of fate that the ACC is now facing the same thing, but the Big 12 is thriving. That can't be allowed. Let's throw some shit out there. Let's see if we can put a little stank on the Big 12 reputation, which we don't have much of one anyway. Other than we're whooping y'all's ass. We're whooping y'all's ass. Ah, good stuff. I'll pat myself on the back later. Anyway, thanks for watching this crap. And I'll be back with some more crap later. Bye.